Hi everybody, I'm Lindy,
And I'm Shelby.
and we're from Toneworks Music Therapy, and we have an instrument activity for you today called Find That Instrument. So you should have a sheet that has 16 instruments on it that are in the orchestra, and you should also have cut out 16 little circles that have faces on them with different emotions. You have happy, excited, sad, tired, mad, surprised, and scared. So we're going to listen to little clips of instruments, figure out what instrument it is, what family it's in, and how it makes us feel. And when you figure that out, you pick up that picture of the face and you can cover up your instrument with that picture. Here's our first one. Okay, so that sounded like a woodwind instrument. It's the biggest of the woodwind instruments. It's wood and it has metal keys. It uses a double reed to play. It's the bassoon. Shelby, how did the bassoon make you feel?
I thought it was kind of spooky. I was a little scared by the music the bassoon was playing. I'm going to put scared on the bassoon.
So she covered up bassoon. Here's our next one. So that sounded like a string instrument, and there are 4 different kinds of string instruments on our page. That one sounded kind of medium as far as the high notes and the low notes. It was right in the middle. So I'm going to guess viola, because that's right between the violin and the cello. So the viola, how did that viola make you sound or feel?
It sounded kind of sad, long notes that were sustained. I would say it was sad.
Sad, all right, so we're going to cover it up with sad. Here is our next instrument. That sounded like a percussion instrument. However, it's a tuned percussion instrument, so it plays different notes. Sounded like it was metal. If we look at our paper, I believe that would be the glockenspiel. Shelby, how did the glockenspiel make you feel?
It was kind of wispy and fairy-like. It made me a little tired.
A little tired. All right, here's our next one. That was a string instrument that played very high. That means it has to be the smallest of the string instruments, which is the violin. Shelby, how did the violin make you feel?
Made me feel kind of mad at the beginning.
Mad,
Mhm.
okay. So you cover up mad. Let's listen to this next one. That sounded like a string instrument, but it sounded like it had a lot of strings, and they didn't play it with a bow. So I'm thinking that this probably is a harp. You know, there are 47 strings on a harp.
That's a lot.
How did the harp make you feel, Shelby?
Oh, it made me want to go right to sleep.
Right to
It was
sleep, that was
very
a tired
pretty.
one.
Yeah.
I like the harp.
Mhm.
All right, friends, here's our next one. So that sounded like an instrument you play with your mouth, and it sounded like one of the woodwind instruments that's just made out of metal. And so there are no reeds, you just blow across the top of the instrument. It's the flute. The flute. How did the flute make you feel, Shelby?
I was surprised by the flute.
Surprised. Right. Here is our next instrument. Now that was an instrument that, you know, Well, sometimes you find it in the orchestra, sometimes not. It's the piano. It's a keyboard instrument. So the other ones are the harpsichord or the celesta. So the piano has a lot of keys on it. It plays a lot of different notes. Shelby, how did the piano sound make you feel?
It made me feel really happy.
Happy. All right, ready for the next one? So that instrument is untuned, which means it doesn't have different pitches, kind of like when you knock on a door. It's just one pitched. So that means it's a percussion instrument. It sounds like a drum. I think that was the bass drum. Shelby, how did the bass drum make you feel?
It sounded kind of low and mad. Made me feel mad.
Mad. That's a good one. All right, here's our next one. All right, that was kind of a fun one. That sounded like a brass instrument, and it had kind of a swooping noise in the middle, so I think it was the trombone because it has the slide. Shelby, how did the trombone make you feel?
It was kind of funny. It made me feel excited.
Excited, I like that. All right, here's our next one. All right, so that was definitely a string instrument. We've already found the viola and the violin, and this was a bigger one. It has a low noise, but then it kind of went up high a little bit. So I think that was probably the cello. It has a very clear sound up high, and that's how you can tell. So the cello, Shelby, how did the cello make you feel?
It made me feel kind of sad.
Sad. All right, here's our next one. That was another brass instrument. That was part of a fanfare, which is usually played by brass instruments. So I'm thinking that that was probably the trumpet. It sounded a lot like the trumpet, and I think it wasn't so much a French horn, and that's the other brass instrument that's left on our sheet. So I'm gonna go with trumpet. Shelby, how did the trumpet make you feel?
I was surprised by the trumpet.
Surprised by the trumpet. Right. All right, here's another one. So that was another percussion instrument, and it's a drum, but these are drums that can be tuned. These are called timpani, and there's usually a couple of them. So if you look down at your page, there's two big drums next to each other. Those are called timpani. Shelby, how did the timpani make you feel?
The timpani had a big build-up, which made me a little scared. I was scared by the timpani.
A little scared, all right. So that was a woodwind instrument. We haven't heard one of those in a little while. This was one that's made out of wood with metal keys, and it also has a double reed. So I'm thinking this is the oboe. The oboe. Shelby, how did the oboe make you feel?
It made me feel happy.
Happy, yeah. Just a little bit different than the clarinet. The clarinet only has one reed. The oboe has two. All right, our next instrument. Now we know that tune for sure. That sounded like another brass instrument. And the only brass instrument left on our sheet right now is the French horn. And these you usually see up at the back of the orchestra, right in front of the timpani. And there's a whole line of them. So these are the French horn. Shelby, how did the French horn make you feel?
It made me feel excited.
Excited. All right. So that was another woodwind instrument, definitely. And the one we have left is the clarinet, and we had just talked about how it sounds similar to the oboe, and that did. And there's only one reed. So the woodwind, the clarinet. Shelby, how did the clarinet make you feel?
I was surprised by the clarinet.
Surprised, all right. All right, friends, we have one instrument left. All right, so that was definitely a string instrument, and it was really loud and low. And so we know the bigger the instrument, the lower it is. That's gotta be the string bass. Shelby, how did that string bass make you feel?
It made me feel quite excited.
Excited. What does your sheet look like?